Assembly is to farewell Mr Retemeyer. Mr Retemeyer's association with our school began in 1986 when he joined the school as a third form student of Year 9, as it is now. During his time at school, his sporting prowess came to the fore, with him going on to be selected to play for both the first 11 cricket team and the first 11 football teams from 1988 to 1990. He captained both teams in 1990, with the first 11 cricket team winning the New Zealand secondary school finals, the Gillette Cup, under his leadership. In 1990, Mr Retemeyer was selected as the Head Prefect of the school, recognition of his all-round commitment to school life, and at the end of the year was named Dux Ludorum, the highest achieving sportsman in the school. Mr Retemeyer then went to Massey University, and after graduating from Massey University he returned to Palmerston Boys High School in 1998 when he joined the English and PE departments. Mr Retemeyer's strong classroom presence and ability to relate positively to a wide range of students was immediately apparent, as was his collegial approach in the staff room. Mr Retemeyer joined College House and Murray Club in August 2001 as a hostel master, before being appointed to the position of assistant hostel manager in January 2003, a position he held until he left the hostel in July 2005. Upon leaving College House, he returned to Kyoto Club, becoming club master in 2011, a role he held until the end of the 2017 school year. As an old boy, Mr Retemeyer understands the important place that the Shan Shield competition holds in school life, and he was committed to ensuring high rates of participation and high levels of competition. As club master, Mr Retemeyer built a significant legacy for Kyoto, one that included 5 consecutive Shan Shield victories. In 2004, he was appointed to the position of Year 10 Dean, a role he fulfilled until 2006, when he was appointed as the Dean of International Students. Mr Retemeyer held this role until the end of 2013, and then in January 2014 was appointed to the position of Director of International Students, a new role that reflected the growth in the international department here at school. And he has operated in this role since then. Mr Retemeyer has worked hard to form positive relationships with schools and international agents in an expanding range of countries, and has always acted with the best interests of both our school and our international students at the forefront. When COVID-19 forced the closure of New Zealand's borders in 2020, it is testament to Mr Retemeyer's initiative that nearly all of our international students remained here. He organised and ran many holiday activities, including an extensive South Island tour during the Christmas holidays, to keep those young men engaged while they were unable to return home to their families. And for many of them, that was a difficult time. The work he put in maintaining relationships has meant that we are well placed to begin rebuilding international student numbers now that the borders have reopened. Mr Retemeyer's contribution to our co-curricular program has been extensive. For many years he coached a range of junior and senior football teams and was the teacher in charge of football from 1999 until 2003. This is a significant role and includes the organisation of all Borside football teams. However, Mr Retemeyer is perhaps best known for his contribution to cricket. He coached the third form specials for several seasons, including taking them to the annual Hawke's Bay Junior Cricket Tournament. He went on to be player coach of the first 11 cricket team from 2003 to 2007, a very successful tenure that included qualifying 3 times to compete in the Gillette Cup National Finals, winning the tournament in 2004. And there won't be too many gentlemen around the country who have been winners both as player and as coach. The teams Mr Retemeyer coached included future Black Caps George Worker and Adam Milne, as well as future Welsh Rugby International Hadley Parks. Alongside his extensive coaching involvement, he was the teacher in charge of cricket from 2014 to 17. And in more recent years, Mr Retemeyer has also been significantly involved in school golf as the teacher in charge since 2011, the 3rd sporting code in which he has fulfilled the teacher in charge role. And he has taken teams away to Super 8 and New Zealand secondary schools tournaments. Mr Retemeyer has also been a regular participant in both the Year 10 outdoor education program, in particular the Enola Bay Camp, and the Year 13 mountain trip. He has voluntarily given thousands of hours of his time to provide opportunities for the young men of this school over the last 27 years. Mr Retemeyer is incredibly well organised. He has high expectations of all the young men he works with, be that in the classroom, on the sports field, or for those who join us as international students. dedication, hard work and willingness to put others first have been greatly appreciated by our young men and staff, and we sincerely thank him for the significant service that he has provided to our school. He leaves behind a considerable legacy in all aspects of school life. Mr Retemeyer is moving on to a new challenge as the principal of One Global Palmerston North Campus, and we wish him all the best for his next stage of his career. So please join with me in welcoming Mr Retemeyer to the lectern this morning.
Boys, thank you, Mr. Bobie. Mr. Bobie and I started here in 1998 together, and he has significantly taken a much higher route than I to the lectern up here. I've managed to do a lot, and Mr. Bobie has pretty much ruined my speech. I've managed to do a lot over the past 26 years here at Boys High. 31 if you count being a student. The main reason I've looked for other opportunities is because Mr. Bobie was forcing me to wear a tie. In 1986 I started here as a young boy. 3HS was the form class, and funnily enough that's the only form class I can actually remember having. So I think it's important that those first years as a Year 9 student or Form 3 student have such a significant impact on you. Although I was okay in the classroom, the main reason I did come here was for sport. Cricket and soccer were my preferred options, and I had some pretty good coaches as well. Mr. Astle had me for 4 years, and he ended up being the deputy director here. Mr. Leighton was a significant, that's an older Mr. Leighton, was a significant part of my cricket career as well. And he was also the reason why I actually got into teaching. I applied for Teachers College when I returned from the UK after playing a stint of cricket over there, and I couldn't get into Teachers College, and in those days the success of Boys High was frowned upon. So Mr. Leighton had a friend there, got me an interview, and then I managed to sneak in to Teachers College. I also had Mr. Yule for soccer, and Mr. Yule is now the headmaster of Scots College in Wellington. I was lucky enough to get picked in the third form specials cricket, and there's still a memory that I have there of a man called Regan Hopkins, and he was a man as a third former. He turned up to cricket training in full whites, and he bowled very quickly. The first ball that he bowled, and the cricket nets weren't quite what they are now, they were a little bit muddy. He slipped over and he ended up with a big muddy bit all down his side of his trousers. However, that just made him more angry, and the rest of us were terrified for the rest of the training. As Mr. Bobie said, I managed to make the first 11s in both Form 5 or Year 11, as you well know, and they were significant challenges because we played in the senior men's competition. I actually made the first 11 in soccer when I was in Year 10, and I played a couple of games, then I got dropped. I saw Mr. Yule many years later, and he said, "Oh, do you know why I dropped you as a Year 10 student?" And I said, "Oh, no, because I wasn't good enough." And he goes, "No, that wasn't the case." He said, "Your mother rang me up and said it was too rough and you wanted me not to play until the next year." The Gillette Cup was certainly in our 1990 was certainly a very new thing, and was the very first secondary school championship that we had. We're against Auckland Grammar, who were always a very good cricket side back then, and also Mathemata High School, which was an unusual selection. They had, for some of the older people here, they had the Spice brothers, Jason, and I can't remember the other one, playing for them, and they were pretty much their team. Otago Boys was the star-studded side, few boys that we all knew about, but back then there weren't any national teams, so they must have been good if we'd heard about them. We did manage a very close victory against Auckland Grammar School. 9 wickets, I think, with that one. We thrashed Matamata, and Otago Boys, we were getting slaughtered. And then we managed to sneak a wicket in. All College House came down because during school time they sat on the sideline, and I think that's the one that actually got us through, is that they were down there cheering us on down at Manaroa Park. Another significant thing about that team was that we only had 3 Form 7 or Year 13 players, which I think shows the depth and the talent that we have at the school, and I think it's similar this year as well. that there's a small amount of year 13s, but you can actually get through. You just, the best players get in. Soccer tournament was probably the one that I remember as well, was that we were a pretty ordinary side, but we fought hard. And we managed to get through to the semi-finals, and against Shirley Boys, I think it was, and we lost on penalty shootout. And I think we nearly got through the whole team, and that was heartbreaking for a lot of those guys. I did my primary teaching degree at Teachers College, the old campus that's down by the lagoon, and then in my 4th year, I did a bit of relieving here at Palmerston Boys, and that was ideal for me because if I had an assignment due, I could come and sit in the class, write my assignment out, I'd take it to my wife who worked in an office then, she would type it out for me and I'd get it in just before 5 o'clock. As Mr Bovey said, I've been part of the international program since 2006, and as part of that we moved through to restructuring in 2014. With international, it's a significant amount of travel that we have to do in terms of connecting with our partners overseas, and that grew more and more from what turned to be 1 trip a year for maybe 2.5 to 3 weeks. It was turning into 4 trips per year for 2 weeks each time, so that's a significant time away. When the pandemic hit, it was chaos here, and very, very lucky that the parents overseas trusted us to look after their sons. But what we're also very thankful for was that the hostel remained open for international students. If we would have had to place 15 students into accommodation, I had no idea how we would have done that. So Mr Davidson, thank you for that. So nearly all of our students stayed, and some would go home as they graduated, but some of the boys didn't see their parents for over 2.5 years. I've coached the first 11 cricket, and that was a very, very stressful time, and it's hard watching boys play cricket, and when you think you're on top you are, and when you think you're not, and when you think you're down and out, sometimes it can come back. I remember one game against Napier Boys at Super 8 where we got their last 5 wickets for 0 runs after we'd pretty much lost the game. Kia ora has been a very memorable time, and the banter amongst the club masters is something I really enjoy. Winning the Shan Shield 5 times was amazing, and well done to the boys in gold for that. And it's good to see this year a solid start, and let's hope we can reverse last year's result. I've been looking after boys from overseas for the past 16 years, and I don't know if you all understand how challenging it is for international students to come out of their comfort zone where they don't speak a lot of English, some of them, and they're put in a completely different environment. It makes me really happy to see how you embrace them in your classes, teams, and your homes. If you put yourself in the same situation, put yourself going to a school in China, not speaking any language, boys perhaps not talking to you because they find it uncomfortable. It is a real challenge for them, and I really take my hat off to all of the boys, the international boys that come here and make Palmerston Boys High School their home. One of the strengths of our program is our staff, and we haven't had a many over the time. Mrs Moore was the first homestay coordinator that we had. Mrs Christophers, Ms Mitchell and Mr Van have all been part of our team. And more recently, our new additions, the newest Mr Cudby, and then Mrs Young-Wilson, who's taking over from me, and I do wish her all the very best for that. And finally, Mrs Lee, and it's good to connect with Mrs Lee because we were friends back in maybe the late 90s through my wife. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge my wife and my children, Annie, Millet, Indy, and Taika. I'd often be overseas 2 months a year, connecting with our partners, schools, alumni, and we just had an alumni function in Bangkok a few weeks back where we had 25 people out. New students and their parents, and it's very important for parents to feel at ease that we're looking after their students in New Zealand. There were never complaints from Joanna and the children. Pretty much she used to say that there's one less child to look after. I've been very lucky to have a fantastic job, one that I never thought I would be in at my time at Palmerston North Boys High School. As Mr Bovey said, I'm off to be the principal of a new school, One School Global, which is up near IPU. It's going to be a real challenge. I'm not actually sure what I'm supposed to do, but I'm sure that I'll be able to find my feet. I've managed to wing it for the last 26 years, so the next 10 shouldn't be too difficult. I thank you all for making my time at Palmerston North Boys High School truly fantastic. I'll always follow the progress of the school and remain connected to you all, not only as an ex-teacher, but also as an old boy. Thank you.
What are boys here too?
Get him up.